The Canon 10 to 18mm IS STM lens was the world's first reasonably priced ultra-wide lens and was built specifically for Canon's digital APS-C cameras. However, a few weeks back, I made the decision to modify the original EF-S to an EF mount so I can adapt it to my Canon full-frame cameras and cameras that have a speed booster as an option. But was it worth it? Let's find out. Hey guys, Zeke here, and in today's video, we're going to take a look at the Canon 10 to 18mm IS STM lens. Now before modifying this lens, there was no way to adapt it to a speed booster. It just wouldn't fit because it's made specifically for Canon's APS-C cameras. Now here is the Canon 10 to 18mm lens, and on the back you can see a metal mounting plate. Now this is the EF conversion plate, so I've modded it from the EF-S to EF, and it fits like a glove on your speed booster. So whether you use Sony, APS-C, Fujifilm, if you have an EF speed booster, you got the 10 to 18mm lens, you can fit the 10 to 18mm lens and get an ultra wide field of view plus stabilization. Now I know a lot of people on YouTube have done the same thing, but looking at their method, they actually sawed the back part. Some of them filed it and used sanding paper or some sanding material to refine the back. I did the same and it worked, but the problem was it just looked ugly. You can see the metal parts inside and all the chips. I just wanted to keep it nice and clean, and so what I did was I headed onto eBay and searched EF-S to EF adapter. Now there aren't many people that sell this adapter, but what you can get is an adapter for the 10 to 18mm, the 18 to 55 Canon lens, and the 55 to 250. So you can get these EF adapters, and as you can see, it looks nice and clean and it fits like a glove on Canon full frame cameras, on speed boosters. Here's my Canon 5D Mark II. Boom, 10 to 18mm lens on the full frame camera. You can't shoot 10mm because obviously it's gonna vignette. This lens is made specifically for APS-C cameras. So what I found that if you zoom it all the way to 14mm, there is absolutely no vignette free. You can use the whole full frame width, the whole sensor, and shoot from 14mm all the way to 18mm. And honestly guys, this is still wide enough. It looks like a medium format camera, and it's just gonna be awesome with that stabilization function. This lens is just gonna be a fantastic wide angle / all-rounder lens for your travels. Okay, so you're probably thinking, what does it take to modify this lens? So it's actually really simple. What you gotta do is flip over to the back side and you'll see these 4 screws on the back mounting plate. All you gotta do is unscrew those 4 screws. Then on the back, there are some extra 2 small screws that you gotta screw off. Once that's done, you just take off the back plastic mounting plate and then get the metal one that you've ordered, put it on, put the screws back in, and that's pretty much it. It's really simple. And all in all, you get a metal mount that looks premium quality and increases the value of this lens if you have to sell it in the future. This adapter did cost me 40 bucks, however I think it's worth it all the way. All in all, you get a greater depth of field, you get more light into the sensor thanks to the speed booster. So originally this is an f4.5 lens. With the speed booster you get a stop of light, so it goes down to around f3.2. And when you connect this lens to a speed booster, the fact that you're getting a wider field of view means you're going to get also better stabilization in your footage. Now I wanted to see how this lens would perform out in the field, so I gathered some test footage and I took the Canon EOS M out with Magic Lantern RAW. If you guys are not familiar with it, it has a 1.6 times crop, which is the normal Canon crop, but I chose to shoot with the 2.5K RAW and the 2.8K RAW modes. So those modes have around a 3 times crop factor, so they are zoomed, but with a 10mm, you're gonna get a much wider field of view than you would with say a 25mm or a 30mm. Even with the crop factors, this lens helped me achieve a better field of view than I would get with any other lens. Now as you can see, the footage coming out of this lens looks super cinematic with the speed booster. It's super wide and you get beautiful colors, the Canon colors that we all love. and I had absolutely no issues in post when I was grading, and everything that you see here was graded through DaVinci Resolve. I pretty much just used one node and just fixed the base grading and then just added some saturation, and as you can see, without touching much of the colors, everything just came out super beautiful. Alright, so now let's take a look at the good and the bad about this lens. The good I can say is that it's a cheap ultra wide lens. You get 10 to 18mm, or with the speed booster it's around a 7mm. You have a super damp, super precise zoom ring, and the focus ring I have to say is probably my favorite part about this lens. It's super smooth, it's compact and light. Then it also has a macro function where you can get really close to your subject, isolate the background, and the close focusing distance is around 22 centimeters. So if you're a person who likes close to macro shots, then you can definitely get it out of this lens. Now looking at the negatives of this lens, and most of the stuff are the negatives that we come across other ultra wide lenses. For example, there is some distortion on the wide angles and there's chromatic aberration. However, it's not super strong, it can be controlled, and honestly, it's not super bad. It's pretty well controlled for an ultra wide lens on a speed booster or on a full frame camera. And then the last negative is probably the aperture. It's not the fastest. I mean, if you're gonna shoot in low light, this is not something I would recommend. However, if you're taking two lenses with you, you'd have the 10 to 18mm lens and then the Canon 35 to f2 or the 55 1.8 STM lens, and they will cover you for those type of situations. So that's it guys, extremely pleased with this modification. What do you think? Is this something that you'd be interested in doing? From a personal recommendation, I'd highly recommend modifying this from an EFS to EF. You can mount it on the Pocket 4K, full frame cameras, Fujifilm. You get a wide field of view with stabilization. And like I said, it's fantastic for hiking, travel, vlogging. The modification on this lens is a must in my opinion. So give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.